Hey guys, it's Patricia from TarantulaHeaven.com. We have Miss Spidey here. My grandma still lives in Rosea, and she was moving around quite a bit before, so I hope that she will move around again for you in this video. Today I wanted to talk about some of the ills or harms of the tarantula trade that is actually having a negative impact on tarantula species that are very popular. And it is mostly being driven by souvenir collectors. And it's one of the unfortunate byproducts of the tarantula hobby having really taken off in the last few years. I think that, like with social media, with the rise of amazing tarantula forums and groups, people were getting a lot more connected, tarantulas became a lot more popular. And while I think that is so amazing, so exciting, I don't think all of it has been completely positive. There are a few experts who spoke about the rising popularity of tarantulas and why it became so popular, so I want to share some quotes from them. So one of these people is Jackie Peeler. She has spent 40 years managing invertebrates, tarantulas, other creepy crawlies in zoos and museums, and she used to run a mobile zoo program where she would actually take tarantulas to outdoor festivals and malls and show them off to people. She said there's a powerful connection when people can see something they may never see in the wild. And she's now the manager of the Animal Care Center at Boston Museum of Science. She says invertebrates and insects can be one of those things that people, even when they're terrified, are still fascinated by. And that is so true. That was me before I got Spidey, terrified of spiders, but still very oddly attracted to them. So Peeler does say she doesn't really support showing tarantulas off so much anymore. She believes that they should be able to be in peace, and they're not really social animals, so they should not be forced to interact with crowds. But she said that even though tarantulas may not be like an in-your-face animal, people are still very oddly attracted to them. And with that, the illegal trade of tarantulas all over the world has kind of gotten to be a much larger problem than it was. Chris Hamilton, who is an assistant professor in the Department of Entomology, Plant Pathology, and Nematology at the University of Idaho, said tarantulas are charismatic organisms. That's what's great about them, because we can use them to educate the public. It's very, very true. But Hamilton did say that in the 2000s, the tarantula hobby started to gain a lot of steam, and a lot of tarantula owners now have collections in the hundreds. A lot of times it's about collecting as many different colors and patterns and variety in tarantulas as you can. But unfortunately, some of that is due to a multi-billion-dollar illegal wildlife trade industry, which, is one of a few factors that are threatening species of tarantulas. But yes, it is illegal. And if you add that on top of climate change and habitat destruction, there is a concern that some tarantula species will be extinct before scientists can even really get to study them. Hamilton said, tarantulas are especially vulnerable to poaching because they're long-lived. Some reach 30 years old, and females reproduce late and infrequently. This is terrible for withstanding human disturbance, such as habitat destruction, pet trade, collecting, or climate change, because of how long it takes to regenerate populations. It's a very good point. He did say that range-restricted tarantula species like pokies are highly susceptible to extinction. The article I saw said that 43% of tarantula species are traded as souvenirs, which is, for example, mounting or framing them after a tarantula has died. You guys may have seen people who do that in the forums. A lot of times it's really cool and beautiful, actually. Some of these tarantulas are used for research tools or for medicine, but the souvenir market is definitely the one that's growing the fastest and is most likely the most problematic. And just some history about this. Wild poaching grew a lot in the 70s and 80s, and that's also when keeping a tarantula as a pet kind of started happening. As that became more popular, so did captive breeding and legal trade. However, Peeler said that the illegal tarantula market grew faster Because if you're actually trying to do things legally and respect all the regulations and best practices, it takes a lot of time, money, and also involves acquiring permits. And so once the internet really took off, it was a lot easier for traders and tarantula hobbyists or owners to find each other. In 2010, a German man sent hundreds of baby tarantulas packed inside straws through the mail through USPS. And then in December of 2021, Colombian authorities at El Dorado Airport detained 2 people attempting to smuggle more than 230 tarantulas to Europe in 1 suitcase. So this is obviously illegal and also does not treat the animal ethically at all. Carol Fukushima, a tarantula taxonomist and researcher with Bison's lab at the University of Turku in Finland, said, "Many tarantulas are sold and transported without permits or records through methods like brown boxing, where specimens are shipped illegally, mislabeled, or transported as non-wildlife to avoid detection." She also said that there's probably discrepancies in the naming of species as well as the identification because of the illegal marketplace. And unfortunately, there's not much opportunity for this to be stopped. Fukushima said that there's not enough funding for scientists to improve species cataloging and monitoring. And it might also be due to the public's perception of spiders as well. She said, "It is known that the popularity of a species plays a significant role in attracting funding and supporting research and conservation. Unfortunately, arachnids and other invertebrates are typically not seen as charismatic or important by the general public. There's a widespread negative perception of arachnids fueled by arachnophobia and a lack of awareness about the crucial ecosystem services they provide, which benefit both the planet and humanity." So despite how important tarantulas actually are about in controlling insect populations, for example, there likely won't be a lot of funding going into saving them and preserving them. So she says that the lack of funding for tarantula research, along with misinformed media attention perpetuating incorrect negative stereotypes, makes it a more likely scenario that tarantulas will be overexploited in an under-regulated arachnid trade. There's over 1,000 species of tarantulas that exist, but only about 3% of them are currently listed as protected on sites, and that means that they're being actively monitored. Fukushima also says that improperly regulated and monitored captive breeding could indirectly stoke illegal and unsustainable trade. For captive breeding to work, as far as helping conserve tarantulas, there has to be a legit monitor and tracking system, and even that may not be a perfect solution. She said, "Mexico has created successful legal captive breeding programs with tarantulas. However, some Mexican breeders say that even these efforts may not be enough to produce specimens of Mexican tarantulas to meet market demand." So I think that that really does speak to just how fast the tarantula hobby is growing. She says that the implementation of a regulation comparable to the U.S. Lacey Act prohibit the importation of specimens that violate laws of their country or of origin might be one way for tarantulas to be protected. But she seems to feel that because tarantulas and other invertebrates are not seen as important by the general public, that this is not likely to happen or be prioritized. And I do think that most people in the tarantula hobby really do try to respect the laws and like try to do captive breeding or buy from captive breeders. I know that that's a big thing that's spoken about, but I do think that people who are making a lot of money from this have a different set of values, to say the least, and may not really care as much about the actual ethics of these animals, but more so see it as a way to make a lot of money really fast. So it's a huge thing that is happening. I do wish that there were more laws that would protect tarantulas, or more of an effort to create laws and actually implement them that would protect tarantulas. So I do think this is a huge issue. We could lose some species because of this. And, you know, I mean, the big ones that I've been talking about generally are climate change, however, or like just humans kind of ripping up land. But I do think that the illegal tarantula trade is also a huge thing that I'd actually like to know a little bit more about. I might do some more videos about it. You know, those stories about someone trying to smuggle hundreds of tarantulas in a suitcase or shipping tons of them in a small package, like, this does make me sad. It seems like that, you know, I know that the people mailing them, they probably don't care at all about those tarantulas. They're just seeing them as dollar signs, which is really sad. And not really caring about the ill effects of what they're doing to the hobby. But, you know, anyway, let me know what you guys think about that. And I'll see you next week for Tarantula Tuesday. Take care. Bye-bye.